Welcome to the Angler's Wisdom Podcast,
supercharged by Amped Outdoors Lithium.
Today, anglers fish longer. Today, anglers fish harder. Today, anglers rely more than ever on their electronics. It all comes down to catching more fish, and today, anglers rely on Amped Outdoors lithium batteries, period.
catch more fish,
Learn tips, tricks,
techniques, and secrets, and decades of angler's wisdom. Welcome to the show.
Oh, yeah! Yeah! Oh! Oh, that's a nice one. Yeah!
Welcome back to the Angler's Wisdom Podcast, where every cast carries a story. Every story builds a legacy, and tonight, you're about to witness one for the books. Now, if you've been paying attention to the international kayak fishing scene, then you've probably already heard her name. She's not just rewriting the playbook, she's winning gold with it. Representing Team USA with power, poise, and passion, she's just... How did you get in here? Sorry, we have a special guest, Brian. Representing Team USA with power, poise, and passion. She's just brought home the Pan American Championship title in saltwater. Come here. Oh. Welcome, Brian. Sit. In saltwater kayak fishing. And tonight, she's bringing that energy right here for all of you. Please help me welcome to the show the one and only Annie Nagel. Welcome, Annie. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing pretty good. I wasn't expecting him. Usually I shut the door, but sometimes I think he knows how to open it.
It's so fitting because I'm such a dog person.
Oh, that's awesome. He's I don't know, part dog, part Energizer bunny, and maybe a little bit of human.
I love it.
So let's get started. Why don't you just kind of introduce yourself and just tell everybody who you are and why you're here.
So I'm Annie Nagel. I was born and raised in Roanoke Park, California, a small town in Sonoma County. Some people know it as wine country, but it's about 45 minutes north of San Francisco. And I have been fishing for about 16 years or so, and probably kayak fishing for 12 to 13 years now. And I'm a very proud member of Team USA saltwater kayak fishing. And we just got back from the second Pan Am of saltwater kayak fishing, and I ended up winning gold in the women's division. So I'm very proud and stoked on that.
That's pretty awesome. Congratulations on that, by the way. That was just, what was it, last week?
That was 3 weeks ago, March 7th to the 9th, or I guess a month ago now. It feels like it was just yesterday.
I know, time flies so fast. It's crazy. So why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got into fishing at age 19? I believe it was after a car accident.
Yeah, so I was a bit lost in my youth. I didn't really have any hobbies. I was really good at sports, and I grew up with all boys, and but I just nothing held my interest. So it was always like moving on from softball to volleyball to basketball to any other sport, whitewater rafting, etc. But nothing really just like held my interest. I had total ADHD, and I ended up kind of, lost in my teenage years. I ended up driving my car way too fast and crashing head over tail, and then rolling several times. And it was super traumatic. I was lucky to walk away from it. if anybody was in my car, they surely would have died. Just the only like part of the car that was still not totally smashed down was the driver's spot. So I was very fortunate to walk away. And then after that, I was, a total adrenaline junkie growing up, and I couldn't get an adrenaline rush after that accident. My adrenaline was through the roof that night. I remember I ran to a gas station, and the guy like asked if I needed to clean up, and so I ended up going to the bathroom. He gave me the key and cleaning up or whatever. I was covered in blood, and I went to just lightly toss him the keys back, and I ended up almost throwing them on the roof because my adrenaline was so high, and nothing like I ever experienced. I didn't even realize I was in this state. But so after that, I couldn't get an adrenaline rush, and it wasn't until I met my boyfriend probably 3 months later, and we got into surfing and some like really cool outdoor water sports. And probably 9 months or so into our relationship, he took me fishing for the first time. And we were hiking, and I was all into hiking and being outside. And I ended up catching a rainbow trout from shore, and it just filled my veins with adrenaline. It was like the first time that I finally felt what I had been searching for. I was doing a bunch of kind of extreme activities trying to get that adrenaline rush, but it wasn't until I caught that fish that it happened. And I ended up grabbing it by the lip because I didn't know like how to hold a trout, and they have little teeth. And but I was just so excited, and it totally changed my life. And then from that moment on, I was like, when are we coming back to this lake? What's our next trip? And so basically that fishing evolved into fishing from a float tube, because we eventually wanted to get further away from shore and cover a little bit more ground. But it was hard on my knees. And so then I ended up getting into kayak fishing from there.
That's a pretty incredible story. I'm a firm believer that life presents us with the challenges and the situations that we're supposed to have, to kind of sometimes shift our direction, right?
Totally.
What moment did you realize that fishing was more than a hobby? It was truly who you are.
That's a good question. I mean, feeling that adrenaline was the first time I kind of connected back to that old self of mine. And I was somebody that I really wanted to get back to, because I just felt like a completely different person. I was really depressed. I felt like I lost all my confidence, and I was a very confident person growing up. And so it was really that I found fishing, like, it was kind of an instant thing. Like, it was like, this is where I belong, and this is where I'm meant to be. And then, as we were evolving into like kayak fishing, we were starting to meet other kayak anglers, and there was a big community called NorCal Kayak Anglers, and they really invited me with open arms. And I went to a tournament, and everybody was just so welcoming and excited to see a female there. And I think that was like a huge, like, where I really felt like this is it. This is where I belong. I found my people. I found my sport. And like literally every time we had a day off or after work, I was like taking my kayak out, and it just opened a lot of doors. A lot of opportunities came from that first tournament I went to. I was introduced to several brands of kayaks, and people wanted to put me on their teams. And so it was just all these people believing in me. It kind of made me believe in myself.
That's incredible. That's one thing I love about the kayak fishing community is, we're always there to support each other and, do whatever we can to just help them grow and make them feel accepted.
Yes, agreed. And everybody comes from such different walks of life and different backgrounds and different views and different everything. And then when we're together camping or fishing or on the water, it's just like we're all just homies and friends and good people and just having a good time. So I just really appreciate that. I've found such a great community, because the kayak fishing community is really special.
Yeah, I don't think I've experienced anything quite like the fishing community in general, just with how accepting and supportive people are. Of course, you have that in a lot of other sports, but I don't know, something about fishing. Maybe that's what hooked me in.
Yeah.
What has the road looked like from beginner angler to international champion?
It's been a long road. I mean, I've been really fortunate. I've, I really just like to fish for fun, and that's always the mindset that I took into it. I was never trying to be the best at anything. I just always wanted to learn and grow, and I was never afraid to ask questions. So my kayak fishing journey had been one of just exploration and like really growth and evolution, and just kind of realizing like the umbrella of fishing is huge. I mean, kayak fishing is just one small little piece of that. And even under the kayak fishing umbrella, that's huge too. I met so many people through kayak fishing, and all of a sudden I was fishing lakes, and then I was venturing out into the ocean, and then I was trolling 13 miles or 14 miles in a day for king salmon. And it's kind of crazy how it evolved. And then next thing I knew, I was, spearfishing and diving from my kayak and going for different, we used to be able to get abalone and things like that. So that, I don't know. So I was putting myself out there a lot. I was signing up for as many tournaments as I could, mostly saltwater tournaments. I tried a few freshwater tournaments and just didn't feel that same, like I was in the right place. It wasn't really my thing. I wasn't a big money chaser kind of thing. So for me, I just felt like the camaraderie of the saltwater, specifically the tournaments and everything, was just so much higher. And I just felt more like I belonged there. So I kept signing up, kept going and showing up. And, eventually I started gaining sponsors, and I was invited to work Ocean Kayak's booth at ICAST, an outdoor retailer. And all of a sudden my network was like growing like exponentially. It was kind of crazy how I was getting connected with all these big people. And, coming from California, we're kind of like this small little, like, I don't know, we're like in a little cubby or something. And I didn't even realize this whole world of fishing existed. Like, we're not getting advertisements. When I go to West Marine, I don't see a bunch of fishing advertisements like when I go to Florida and to their West Marines. And so it was a big eye opener to like go to Florida and go to Utah and see just how much fishing was in your face. And it was like, I was missing out on this whole world. And so basically just it kind of elevated. And then there was an opportunity where obviously you're part of U.S. Angling too, and different teams, but there's 16 teams under U.S. Angling, and we were the 16th as the saltwater kayak fishing division. So I was invited to be a part of the executive committee when the first Pan Am, which was last year in June, that happened in Costa Rica. I was invited to start planning and be on the side of kind of the committee, building the program. And so it was really, like, I wouldn't say I got handed the spot, but I had a say in who was on the team at that time because we were on such a short timeline. We had to create a team. We started this program in March and the tournament was in June. So it was a very quick turnaround. But we tried really hard to find female anglers. That was something that when they brought me onto the team, they wanted there to be like a kind of inclusion and make sure we have a diverse team. So I was going to make sure that we had women on the team. That was like my big role. And that's all I really cared about as part of this executive committee. Obviously, I care about building this program too. But for me, I saw an opportunity to get women on the water and get women in this like global spotlight. So we reached out to a bunch of women. It was way too short of a timeline. They weren't able to make it happen. A lot of them were fishing in another Pan Am and different bass tournaments because there wasn't a lot of saltwater tournaments. Like there's still there's a bunch, but the freshwater scene has definitely blown up, and a lot of people have spent a lot more time doing that. So we couldn't find really any women. There was another female, Elsa Flores, who's an absolute hammer of a fisherman, and she was willing to come. And so me and her were the representing females on the Pan Am team. And then she went on to Worlds in Spain. She ended up getting 10th overall. which was just, she slayed it. She was, I think, either third or fourth, I think number 4 for Team USA. So she really put on a good show, and she's just an absolute boss fisherman. So, that was great. And then, so I got invited to the Pan Am this year. We still are having a hard time finding saltwater female anglers. We are building a qualifier series so people can qualify, boys and girls, and we're going to make sure that we designate spots for women, 2 on our Pan Am team, 1 on our Worlds team, because it's a smaller team. And I'm just really happy to be a part of that movement. So it started beginner to where I'm at now. It's kind of crazy. Like, now I'm part of this committee. I'm part of this Pan Am team. I'm going to Worlds in Italy next in September. And it's just like crazy to think about how this journey has unfolded.
That's pretty incredible. It always seems like a big snowball rolling down the hill. At least that's how it was when I got into kayak fishing. I never in a million years thought it was going this direction. And then one day you look up and you're like, whoa. You look around and it's a life, right? Totally. That's, just having the opportunity to get out there and compete is an incredible thing, and on the saltwater, I mean, I'm a freshwater fisherman, but I fish Lake Erie, so I fish Lake Erie for a lot of the reasons that I think you guys fish the saltwater. And part of it is the thrill. I don't get that thrill when I'm on an inland body of water and I can see both sides. I just, that's part of it for me, is the ability to be in that situation and kind of, you learn a lot about yourself and your preparations. You totally do. So what was it like to represent Team USA on the international stage for you? It was a great honor. I'm like super proud to be representing the USA. And for me, like, I feel like I'm such a small town. Like, I come from this itty bitty town in California, and I would never expect to be representing the USA for any team. And the fact that I've had this opportunity is huge, and I'm super grateful. I'm like very proud, and it's just a great honor. And I hope I have more opportunities as we build our qualifiers. I hope I can, qualify on Team USA. And, but no matter what, I'm just so grateful to be a part of this whole thing. It's like a dream come true. And you get to be a direct access point for other ladies just like you to, have this opportunity and experience what you and I have both felt. I don't know if there's really words that can truly describe what it's like to be on the international stage, let alone, bring home a gold medal. Yes, exactly. I mean, that was something we were so proud of. With the Costa Rica Pan Am, we won gold, and it was such a, we spent so many hours meeting as a team, planning, and it was just the greatest feeling to win that gold medal. And it was so victorious, and just like you said, I don't even know the words. I can't put it into words how it felt, because it was just something like I've never experienced. And to be with this team that for all the amount of effort and everything that goes into it and all the hardships. And I mean, it was just, I don't even know, life-changing. 100%. So give us a look behind the scenes. Kind of how was the championship structured? So this Pan Am in Costa Rica, it's basically a points by species point system. And there's maybe 15 species or so, from mahi to snapper to dorado or mahi, yellowtail for this one, roosterfish, billfish are the top high scoring points. And each species, you can catch a total of 3 max to get points, and they're all rated in different points. So the snappers are 7 points, a needlefish is 4 points or 3 points. And then they also have bonus points for the more variety. So once you hit 4
different species, you'll get 20 points, and then 5 will get you 30 points, and 6 will get you 40 points, and so on. So you're really trying to get a variety. It's definitely quantity over quality. Size doesn't matter in these tournaments, which is kind of nice. So like at Costa Rica, we were catching really small snapper and getting 21 points pretty quickly. So it was really easy. I don't know, not easy to figure out kind of the mathematics, but it is a mathematical kind of thing. And you have to be thoughtful of like where you're fishing and what fish you're targeting and get those different species, because those bonus points are really what's going to put you at top as far as the points go. And then you are just trying to fish for as many different kinds of species. And for us, we had different kind of scouting. So we would go early and pre-fish to practice and try to figure out the spots that we can get snapper, the spots we can get the grouper, the spots we can get, like if the roosters or there was snook in Costa Rica, like if they're running on the shores at that time, or if they're going to be out deeper on the reefs. So we're trying to figure out these fisheries in a very short time frame. And it's very interesting to work with, on the Pan Am, there's 14 people on each team. It's the way originally it was 12 people. And then in Costa Rica, they said if you had 2 women, they'll accept 14. So it was kind of cool because a lot of the teams already had their 12 men and they ended up bringing on 2 women. So I think it was like a really great opportunity to get more women involved from like worldwide, which I thought was really special. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of planning that goes involved.
That's really cool what they did. But yeah, behind the scenes, I mean, there is so much planning and strategy that goes into these tournaments. A lot of late nights, but the interesting thing is the point system. So for example, when I was in Portugal, we fished for zander and black bass. Black bass was worth 1 point. Zander was actually worth a half a point. And if you look at the size difference in the fish, your zander is usually twice the size approximately of the bass, which is why they set up the point system that way. So it can be confusing, but it really is set up to just kind of make a little bit of a, I don't know, maybe a more of a level playing field as far as species are concerned. And having that variety bonus, that even adds another level of complexity, especially on big water, because you're talking about not just a 1,000 foot or whatever, you're covering miles, and the next pot of fish might be 10 miles away. Well, it takes a little bit of time to get there, so you have to factor that in. And depending on the check-in, you can't be late to the check-in.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a lot. So yeah, you're basically working as a team, but then you're also like individual competitors, and it's very interesting. And we had like a shopping list, so we were all buying trying to get the same tackle for when we went there. So that way, if like bucktails or certain jigs or soft plastics or whatever it was working, we could then radio and be like, hey, this is what's working, for like switch to it or whatever. So it's really cool to work as a team and try to win like the gold.
For sure.
And have success. It's like really amazing.
Oh yeah. And it really is a team effort, even down to the coach. I spent 2 weeks with Stephen Collett from Team England. And that guy is a master when it comes to breaking down these waters, and it's just it's so interesting. The whole playing field basically has to be broken down, and then as a team, each person has a certain job that day to kind of pick everything apart. And if all goes perfectly, when it's time to go out and compete, that's when you pick up your trophies, right? And if you don't pick up a trophy, at least you come back with some good wisdom.
Yeah, exactly. And there's so much like blood, sweat, and tears that go into, like, we got there early to pre-fish. And everything that could have gone wrong in Costa Rica last year did go wrong. We had kayaks taking on water, kayaks that came straight from basically China. Some of them had holes like sawed into them. They were not watertight. I mean, it was just kind of a nightmare. The pedals weren't installed, and when we got the pedals, like both of them were on top, so it was like not even a working pedal drive. And then we had, all these like Yak Attack has been a huge supporter for us, and but then we had like 13 or 14 black packs to build, and that can be very time consuming when you're trying to be helpful and build all these Yak Attack black packs for your team. So it was kind of like not what we were expecting, but I think that's what made the victory so much sweeter, because we did put so much effort into making sure that everybody was, set up. We made sure that, everybody had fish finder batteries, and, it's just like, there's so much that goes into it, PFDs, and make sure they're set with gear, as well as the fishing knowledge, sharing waypoints, staying up late to text each other, navionics, waypoints or whatever, and making sure you get them into your fish finder, or, a lot of us, we've learned a lot. Let's just say that.
Speaking of that, can you walk us through your strategy going into day one?
For La Paz, so something I haven't mentioned yet is La Paz was a bit tricky. So we were supposed to fish Saturday and Sunday, so I could only get off so much time to go pre-fishing. So I arrived on Tuesday, and then I had Wednesday, Thursday, Friday to pre-fish. There was a bit of a curveball with the wind and weather, and conditions were not safe to go out that weekend, Saturday and Sunday. So the tournament organizers either had to cancel the tournament completely or give us an option to fish alternate days. So they first came up with Friday and Monday being the alternative days for the tournament. Unfortunately, 6 or 5 of our guys were flying out on either Sunday night or Monday morning. So we felt like that was a little unfair that we'd have 5 people not being able to participate. So to counteract that, they gave those 6 people, because there was also one guy from Mexico, the option to fish Thursday, Friday. So that added a whole nother level of panic, I feel like, but just a challenge. It made it a lot more challenging. So for me, I didn't have those 3 days of pre-fishing and practice that I thought I was going to have. And my one day of pre-fishing, I went south with Robert Field and Boogie D and a couple other of our guys, when most of the people were fishing north. And it took me 3 hours to pedal out to the point that we were fishing, because it was all against the current. It was a long ways, and overall we felt like it wasn't a good game plan to go south, because there was so much sand in between the reefs, and we didn't want to waste our time trolling or pedaling or paddling or whatever, when we could have pedaled like an hour to the North Point and maximize that fishing time. So I feel like my whole first day of pre-fishing was a little bit of a bust, and but there's a lot to it, but I didn't have a fish finder battery. Our batteries didn't show up. So I was going to buy one during my Wednesday, Thursday, Friday pre-fishing time. Just get a little lead acid battery, and I lost that opportunity. So I kind of knew that going in on Wednesday. So I started marking a bunch of spots as I was coming in on the south, of places I wanted to try. So then Thursday comes along. I'm really gung-ho about going south to these marks that I had on my navionics and giving it a try. And I caught a pargo on the way in. I caught triggerfish. I caught a decent amount of species on day one that were at least going to, I wanted to go at least start there. That was my game plan. And my whole team was not have it. They were like, Annie, don't go there by yourself. Everybody's fishing north. There's plenty of good spots north. So I felt a little bit like I wasn't allowed to go. I wasn't allowed to go fish by myself in the south. And it was all because of safety reasons. It was a bit windy on Thursday. They didn't want me to be alone and them turn the corner on the North Point and our BHF radios not be able to reach each other. So I totally value their input, and I'm grateful that they were looking out for my safety as much as a stubborn girl as I am and really want to just fish my way. But so I ended up going north, and I was fishing completely blind, which was really not how I wanted to go into it. And it was tough not having that fish finder, because I had the fish finder that Wednesday because a couple of our guys went on a boat. So I got to use somebody's battery. And so my game plan going into it was just to fish my little heart out and try my best and totally like know that I'm going into this blind and I can only do what I can do. So I basically trolled a Rapala X-Wrap Mag 15. And I ended up catching a Sierra mackerel right away. And I was like super stoked because it was like, okay, I'm in this. Like, I've got this, and I circled that spot a few times. I tried to catch more and I just wasn't getting any more strikes. So I ended up wanting to go a little more shallow to try to get some smaller fish that might be there's also an other category, which is a 1-point category. But if that's your fourth species, then it's a 21 points. So the other species or the other category can really maximize your score. So I was just trying to catch any little fish I could. Wasn't really working out as I had planned. I ended up catching a needlefish. And then I caught 3 triggers, and I was trolling this X-Wrap. I was throwing jigs. We're sponsored by Hookup Baits. They're a soft plastic, which are like really amazing action in the water. But I was doing it. And I ended up only catching 3 species and not getting that 4th species to get those extra points. I was super disappointed with my performance, but also happy that I was able to put up some fish. I ended up getting 3rd out of the 6 people that had competed that day. So that was like day 1, and it was not, I don't know. I wish I could change it.
I've had tournament days like that as well. And I always look in the mirror and I tell myself, I didn't fail. I didn't do bad. I might not have won or, achieved what I wanted, but what I got out of it was a ton of knowledge. Maybe something that's going to adapt into day 2 that's going to work, or at least a better understanding on the fishery. Mm-hmm. It's like those silver linings. We always sometimes make a wrong decision on tournament day, or even deviate from the plan, and after the fact, end up beating ourselves up over it for a while. But at the end of the day, like after every tournament, I'm sure you do the same thing. It's kind of like a brain dump. You're just reflecting back on every single little intricate detail that you picked up along the way. And it just, continues to make you a better angler, which is probably why, you went out there and, was it day 2 or day 3? I can't remember whether you had 3 tournament days.
Yeah. So that was day 2 fishing altogether. And then that was day 1 of the tournament, of the 2-day tournament.
Gotcha.
And I think that's like, you have a solid point. I mean, kayak anglers and just fishermen in general, like overcoming adversity is something that's just like comes along with the name of the sport. I mean, I think, as kayak anglers, we're really good at it and we have to be, because you never know what's going to happen. And so much is unpredictable, especially like on saltwater. So I'm really grateful that we had that day to compete, because they could have said, we're just doing Friday, Monday, and if you're flying home, too bad. So I was grateful, but of course we were always on ourselves and how we could do better.
Right. Yeah, I think they did that for the World Championship in Spain last year, right? Because they had that bad storm come in that flooded the whole.
Yeah, so like over 200 people died in Valencia, Spain, when our team was there for Worlds, and they ended up trying to fish during the window, and because there was not safety, they were like, if an emergency happens, all safety personnel are like
occupied
here for the flood, or dealing with the people with the flood. So that was hard, because that was a 3-day tournament and our team only got 1 day. And that was just unfortunate, but Don't
Yeah.
you gotta? Mother Nature is Mother Nature.
Yeah.
She's gonna do what she
And
wants.
they had a great time, and they hung out with my good buddy Antonio Perales from over there.
We love Antonio.
Last name.
We're all big Antonio fans.
Oh yeah, you meet him once, and you'll love him for life. Just a great, and most importantly, he genuinely cares about the fishery, and oh, I'm drawing a blank. Sustainability.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good dude.
So, was there a catch or a turning point where you felt I've got a shot at this?
Not really. I didn't, it was tough because so then everybody competes Friday. So it's day 2 of the tournament. I would say when I caught the yellowtail on day 2, it was one of the first fish I caught. I think I caught one other fish right before that, but it was like the second fish I caught that day. And I guess that was kind of like, this is possible. Like I could put up a hell of a score today. Like this, I think the yellowtail were 35 points or something like that. They're pretty high scoring fish out of our options that were there, even higher than Dorado. And there was a couple Dorado caught, but people were catching yellowtail during pre-fishing. So we thought there was going to be out of all the fish that were on the list, that was definitely the most likely that we would catch. And so I didn't feel like I had a great score going into day 2, but then, like I said, I just fished my little heart out and kept trying. And, I was so determined. And once I got that yellowtail on board, I was thinking I could put up 100 points plus today. This is possible. And it was just I had this curse where I couldn't get that 4th species once again. And, I won gold, but I won gold in the women's division. So I wasn't, the overall champion. One of our guys did win silver, but I'm very proud, I think it kind of gives recognition to the women on the water that are putting themselves out there. And I don't really necessarily think there should be women's categories in tournament fishing. I'm not I just don't see it as being I'm not there to compete against the other women. I'm there to compete against everybody. And I feel that I am capable, and there's nothing about me that there's plenty of women winning tournaments or whatever. So I would love the opportunity to go back out there and really win against everybody. But I am also I have to give it to them. I'm really grateful that they've given recognition to women and are trying to grow, women in the sport as much, at that stage or at the, the global stage.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. When it comes to fishing, there really is no separation. It's not like other sports. And I can kind of see why it would maybe be a little bit of a challenge for them trying to determine that. And, when everybody else is trying to go one way and you're like, no, let's do the inclusive thing. As the organizers, that's got to be a little bit of a challenge, but you never know what the future is going to bring. And an accomplishment's an accomplishment. It's
Totally.
It's something that truly changes your life, and honestly, it humbles you. Beyond, I guess, ways to describe.
Yeah. No, and I ultimately we all know the ultimate goal of U.S. angling is to get fishing to the Olympics. And when you think about Olympic sports, there's always a men's and a women's category or division. And if that's where we're headed one day, we need more women to sign up for these tournaments and to qualify and to have a presence and, to be somebody who can go to international competitions. And if you're, in 2032, I think is our next shot at the Olympics. There's a chance and there's hope for the future. And it sure would suck if we got fishing to the Olympics and there was no women, not a whole lot of women that were able to compete in it, because there's just not so many out there. And so I hope that kind of inspires people to sign up for these qualifiers. And there's definitely a chance to be on Team USA as a female angler. So I mean, we're building this program to be super inclusive and to give the women a shot just as much as the men.
Absolutely. Anybody listening, if you're a lady angler or if you know somebody that's a lady, light a fire underneath them, because it's a great opportunity. And, honestly, it's super easy to get involved. There's so many different organizations that really are designed on, bringing women into the sport and making you feel comfortable and, helping in any way possible. Can you mention some of those? I know I seen Carol Wells on here earlier from the Women's Fishing Federation.
Yes. I actually just signed up for the Women's Fishing Federation, a long time coming. I've been meaning to do that. So I think, Women's Fishing Federation is an amazing organization, getting more women on the water, doing workshops, getting them more involved. So big kudos to WFF and everything they're doing. I don't know a whole lot. I've tried to, I started scales in my nails. It's a very small, it's not, I could spend a lot more time on it, but essentially the whole point of it is to get more women on the water. And I host fishing trips. I host catch and cook workshops. I hosted a fishing tournament aimed at getting more women on the water, and not so much about catching the biggest fish, but just being out there. And we definitely need more of that presence, because mentorship is huge. And I think, when you have people that are, having people that are visible and seeing other women leading and winning and having success in a sport like that's so male dominated, I think that's really important. And then also, like, mentorship is so huge, and taking people under your wing as a woman is huge. And then having other women to look up to, or men, I have had, most of my mentors have been men in this sport. But it's important for people to know that there's resources and there's help.
Absolutely. And, it depends on what you want to do. Like my niche, Lake Erie kayak fishing isn't, something that's national. Obviously I can't take Lake Erie with me. But, it depends on what you want to do. If you want to get into bass, there's I think it's the Lady Bass Anglers Association. Just reach out to some of these people. They're all friendly. They're all nice. And we just love sharing our passion and getting more people into the sport. So like she said, the Olympics are coming up. We need to get some more anglers.
Yeah. And then I'd like to share about some of our qualifiers we have coming up as ways to join Team USA for everybody, boys and girls. So we have the Battle on the Bay fishing tournament out of San Diego. That's coming up really soon here, April 26th and 27th. That's going to be a bay, like kind of sand bass and different halibut, different bay species. And then a lot of you are probably familiar with the Extreme Kayak Fishing series by Joe Hector. So the SummerSlam Part 1 is going to be a qualifier. So anybody can sign up for that one. And the top 10 anglers essentially are going to be taken from each of these qualifiers and invited to nationals. Fish and Paddle Saltwater Slam is in Ocean City, Maryland. And that's June 21st to June 22nd. That's another qualifier. And then July 26th in Oregon, Depot Bay, we have the Rockfish Classic. And there's going to be more information. And all this is on our website. And we're constantly posting about it on the USA Saltwater Kayak Fishing pages. So make sure you're following along. And then our nationals this year is going to be the Extreme Kayak Fishing SummerSlam Part 2. It was going to be the Sailfish tournament, but I don't think that's happening anymore. So SummerSlam number 2. So the top 10 from all of our qualifiers. We also had one in Maui earlier this year. We had one in Corpus Christi, Texas, the Fin Factory Kayak and Tackle Ray Del Mar Inshore Offshore Kayak Fishing Tournament is another qualifier. And I think those are the 6 qualifiers we have so far. We're hoping to have a qualifier in every coastal state eventually. That's like our ultimate goal, but got to start somewhere. And then, so the top 10 of each of these qualifiers will be invited to go to the SummerSlam Part 2. And out of those people, the top scoring competitors will have an invite to be on the 2026 Pan Am and Worlds team. So there's opportunity here. And, we've been really the team has been mostly hand selected so far, and kind of people that know people that know people that we recommend that they're just going to be like a really top angler in that specific fishery. We've been selecting them, but this is really going to open the doors for top competitors to have a chance at winning their own gold and having those celebrations like we got to experience. And I hope, like, my wish is just that more people can experience this, because it is life-changing.
It really is, and another thing to keep in mind is they don't just look for the top anglers. You also have to be a good human being and a good representative of USA, because at the end of the day, we are an extension of the country. And when we leave our borders, you don't want somebody that goes over there and pisses everybody off.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a huge something that we definitely take very seriously. And, we want good stewards of the sport. That's who we want to bring along to these big events.
So when they announced you as a gold medalist, what was the feeling?
So it was a mix of emotion. I was really upset that I wasn't able to attend the awards ceremony, because it was supposed to be on Sunday night. I was flying out Monday. And then Monday they had their second day of competition. There's no cell reception where we were fishing. So I had no idea how our Monday crew was doing. And I was so eager to find out how they were doing. And I didn't even really know there was a women's division, to be honest. So I think I was really shocked to find out, there was one mention from somebody on Team Mexico, like, oh, you're in first. And I was like, how is that possible? Like, I got third on day one. So, and that, day one is when he told me, and I was like, what does first mean? So, and at that point, none of the other women had competed yet. So of course I had first place. But yeah, so then to find out that I had won gold in after Monday was much better fishing for our team. They got the morning bite. Multiple people got 3 yellowtails, which are just such a fun fish to fight. They've got to be one of my most favorite fish. But so yeah, I was shocked. Yeah, I just was not expecting. Boogie and Robert texted me, and they're like, "You won gold for the women." And so it was really proud, and I was like, it was like a great honor to be the women's champion. So it was a mix of emotions, though, because I really didn't know that they were recognizing women at this level or anything. So it was very special. I'm still waiting for Mr. Robert Field to send me my medal, because he ended up taking it home. But yeah.
Hey, Robert. No, Robert is, I'm sure he's super busy.
Yeah. No, we talk every day, so I'll probably end up just having him bring it to ICAST.
Right. How has this win shifted your mindset and momentum as an angler?
It's like I said, I can be a stubborn girl. I kind of was a little bit I really like fishing for fun, and I'd like no pressure fishing. That's where I just find my peace, my comfort. But it's opened my eyes to the amazing world of tournament fishing, and just what an opportunity it gives people, and how people can really show their skill set and their and strategize, and the planning behind it. I really like the process from start to finish, and I like there being a really big end goal, and then figuring out all the little steps that you have to take to get there. So I think it's been very eye-opening for me to get so deep into this tournament scene, because it's something that I've been, it's definitely like, I don't think people look at Annie Nagel and they're like, she's a top tournament angler. It's not. I'm definitely like more of a Pokemon, got to catch them all and just want to keep catching more and more fish and different fish and travel the world and catch fish. Um, but yeah, so it's shown me like this whole new world that I kind of was a little bit maybe closed off to, and it's made me really excited about it. So it's always nice when you have this, like, your mind kind of opens up.
Oh yeah, for sure. And it gives you the opportunity to just being over there to experience different cultures and start creating basically an international fishing family. I mean, just like Antonio in Spain, these are people that if you ever want to or have the opportunity, they'll treat you like a king, show you their country, share their food with you, and as well as their most important fishing spots. And some of them will even send you home with their favorite bait, which is actually kind of hard to see, but that swim bait right up there, that white one.
Oh yeah.
That's from Sebastian. He's in Spain too, a little bit further from Antonio. But it was so cool. The first the night of the award ceremony, he walked up to me and he didn't speak very good English at that time, so we were, it was a little bit challenging. But he got out, I want you to have this. This is my favorite lure, and things been hanging around in the office ever since. But those are experiences that we never realize, but they mean the most, right?
Totally. I also I do feel like I have family in Costa Rica and Mexico, in these different countries. And it's crazy to see this, having people all around the nation is one thing, but then to feel like I can go to Costa Rica and visit multiple people and that they would welcome me with open arms and let me stay in their home, and, their casa is my casa. It's just such a amazing thing. And I'm so grateful for this community.
Yeah, I agree. It's it's something that everybody should experience, and I'm sure Annie feels the same way, as well as everybody else that wears the hat. You owe it to yourself to get out there and give it a shot. Try to experience this, because there's nothing like it in the world. One thing I wanted to talk about, and Michael Brand dropped it in the chat, was what steps does the tournament take for sustainable fishing? And can you get into the whole process as far as live baits obviously being illegal, or any kind of animal product, and using soft plastics as a replacement?
Yeah, so sustainability is a huge thing. We obviously want future generations to enjoy these fisheries as much as we do, and we want to give those fish a fighting chance. So all these tournaments are catch and release, and that's something that we all really value. And a lot of us are, as saltwater kayak fishermen especially, we're going out and we're harvesting fish. So it's kind of a good reminder for everybody that how important it is to practice sustainable fishing and catch and release, and make sure you're not taking more than you need to if you're fishing outside of these tournaments. But then just having that, it's such a valuable thing that these tournaments are doing to promote sustainable fishing and conservation. And the best practices in Worlds, they make you use a net to get all your fish, and they just want to make sure that the fish aren't being handled too roughly, and you measure it and you just throw it back as fast as possible. So and the soft plastics, they'll break down. We don't want to litter the ocean and different lakes and things with the hard plastics. I mean, we're still using them, but we're grateful that Hookup Baits sponsors Team USA saltwater kayak fishing. They're a soft plastic, and they make these super rad baits. and they have the most insane action in the water. And at every pause or twitch, you could troll them. You can literally work them anyway. But
You know, and the most important thing about having a biodegradable product like that is, you know, not just getting in the waterway, but, you know, what if the fish eats it, fish swallows it, and it just continues to swim? You know, so having something that that's not going to mess up their digestive system, right?
Totally.
Yeah, I don't get to fish with a whole lot of plastics. You know, on Lake Erie, I mean, we're just like you. It's mostly harvest. I do release a lot of walleye, though. I can't eat that much walleye. You know, most of my fish generally go back swimming, but it's interesting. You know, I have actually switched over to using. I think Berkeley makes them. They're actually crawler harness worms. You know, and the thing about crawler harnesses, especially in the middle of the summer, it's hard to keep the bait, you know, cool enough to stay alive, especially with multiple clients, multiple boats, you know, and not everybody remembers to put that thing in the cooler. And then you have all the mess of it, you know, with those plastics. It's just right in my hatch. If it's a day where the crawler harness bite's going on, or I think it is, you know, I could throw one of those on, and, you know, I won't say it does better than live bait, but there's a lot of times where it does just as good. Sometimes maybe not so much, and other times maybe a little bit better. But, you know, it's the sustainability of the fishery for us, as well as the future generations, just like the members of last week's episode, the USA Bass Youth Team. So it's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
You know, speaking of the World Championships, you have one coming up in Italy in September, you said, right?
Yeah, so I have gotten an official invite to be on the world team, which I'm very honored and excited about. So yeah, we're going to be fishing Italy and learning a whole new set of skills and strategizing like in a whole different way. This one's going to be size. So you're going to measure your fish in centimeters. Some of the fish are a little small there. But there's also some decent sized fish. So I'm really excited to like learn this whole new fishery and dive in, because it's going to be night and day compared to La Paz.
Yeah, when we were in Italy, I think there was a 25 centimeter minimum on the size of perch that was scoreable. And, you know, anybody that knows anything about European perch, they're like the size of largemouth, smallmouth. So a little bit bigger than our Lake Erie perch. But over there, the specific lake we were fishing, we couldn't catch anything that was 25 centimeters. So they actually had to drop it down a little bit. You know, but it's an interesting fishery. Where are you going to be fishing at over there?
It's I don't know if I'm saying it right, but Piombino, and it's the Tuscany area. So it's a little bit kind of the northern part. So yeah, I have a lot of research to do.
We were up in, I think it's called the Lombardia district, Mantua. Yeah, it was pretty interesting, but not saltwater, you know. And we were fishing from shore in that tournament, so didn't have the fun of the kayak.
Yeah.
But you're right. They're over in Europe and on the other side of the world. They're very careful. You know, you have to net your fish.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times, if you're on shore, you cannot let your fish touch the ground. You have to put down, you know, a measuring pad and do everything that you can to protect that fish, just to sustain the fishery. You know, at the end of the day, as humans, there was a time when we didn't know any better, right? And now we're just trying to make up for it and keep the fisheries alive and well. So tell me, how can people help support you and Team USA for the upcoming World Championship?
So I think I saw Michael Brand drop the link a little earlier, but on our website, on US Angling's website, on each of the team pages, I think there's a Zeffy link. I know for sure on ours, there's a Zeffy link, and that's how you can make a general donation, or if you want to earmark it for someone specific, you can put their name in the in honor or memory box, and But essentially, any support for Team USA is so great, like greatly appreciated. And we as athletes are all self-funding. So I know I'm constantly like asking my followers and my friends and my family to help donate to me directly with my Venmo and my PayPal and any way they can help. But yeah, just, I mean, you can go to usangling.org / saltwater kayak fishing with dashes in between where there would be a space, and donate to the team. General donations go a long way. You know, jerseys aren't free, hats aren't free. There's so many expenses that come. The tournament fees are hundreds of dollars, and then
Yeah.
everything.
Aside from gear and tournament fees and all the administrative stuff, you got to think it's probably a $4,000 or more expense for each one of these anglers. I know that's probably about what I spent going to Italy. So it's not cheap, and especially if you're carrying rods. Fortunately, when we were in Italy, Tubertini supplied us with the rods. So we didn't have to ship them over there. But when Mike Elsey and I went to Portugal, we spent $2,400 just for two of us for baggage, just baggage, So it is a big expense, not to mention being off and away from making money for a week, So if you guys, you're looking to support, get involved or anything like that, definitely head over to the usangling.org website. And Michael Brand is posting it right there. Michael Brand is actually the accountant, among other things. So he's one of the great people that are helping this dream become a reality, not just for the country, for a lot of people and a lot of future generations as well. So thanks for what you do, brother. Keep up the great work. And you can also go over and check out angler profiles and all that good stuff. Follow along with your favorite angler. I know on some of these world championships, sometimes media is not the best, but they are getting better. At the end of the day, it's a new thing, and there's always learning and mistakes, kind of like what we seen last show. Let's see. We got into some of these already. Sorry, guys. Brian laid his head on my keyboard and moved my notes on me. So what's one way to give back to your local waters and community that you would recommend that people try?
Volunteering, and like I volunteer with a nonprofit for king salmon. Our water situation in Northern California is not, well, it's not good. It's really bad. We're having a lot of water diverted. And so I volunteer in any capacity I can for this organization, whether it's helping out with their fundraisers, helping them get donations, helping, in, like, we host women's trips. So I'm involved with going on the women's trips and getting more females out there, and cleaning up our waterways. I think is like the number one easy thing we can do. I mean, I don't think I can just like like I see, sabiki plastic or wrappers of fishing lures, or I see, so much trash on the beaches and on the waterways. And I think it's so important for us to remove that and get it into the proper disposal can or whatever. But yeah, I mean, there's so much we can do. And I think finding organizations like CCA or different conservation groups that you can volunteer with and help our fish and help our waterways and be involved with cleanups. I think that's a huge step in the right direction.
I agree, and you don't have to put a bunch of effort in, if you have a busy schedule, you don't have a whole lot of time. It's as simple as just bending down and picking up one or two pieces of trash. I'm like you. I will twist every one of my rods to, take a 90-degree detour and pick up some trash, or stop in the middle of a world championship because there's a bottle on the shore. But, at the end of the day, I want to leave the place better than it was when I got there, and it's actually become Brian and mine's one of our daily routine. My dog's name is Brian, by the way. He's still hanging out with us. So, he loves Lake Erie, loves the water, loves the beach. So we go down to the beach, and he runs the whole time, and I just fill up a couple bags of trash. It's kind of nice because there's a long beach, and most of the other part has a bunch of trash cans. But then you have like this other section where you got to cross a creek that, a whole lot of people don't go. But Lake Erie still continues to regurgitate our trash. If we get a northwestern blow. So I'll fill up a bag there, and then at the top of the hill at the end of that beach, there's a garbage can. So I'll empty the bags there in the garbage can and have empty bags for the route back. And I never post about it or make a big deal about it because it's just simply me doing my part.
Right.
And hey, if it inspires somebody, then that's even better. Like yesterday I was out there and I couldn't really tell who it was because it had to be half mile or more away, but someone's just waving at me while they're picking up trash down on the other side of the beach. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and I'm also I'm a serious beachcomber and really into sea glass, which I know Lake Erie has some really nice pieces of sea glass.
So this thing that I play with every podcast. One day I was out there cleaning up the beach and I looked down and I found this beat up heart, and I thought, if I could see my heart, it probably looks like this, but it's still strong and it's still beautiful. And I don't know, it came home with me, and it's just a piece of me. But anywhere you look, I have Lake Erie everywhere. There's beach glass and fish bones and driftwood. It's one of those things when I can't be on the water, at least I can be close to the lake that I love. But
exactly.
That's the benefits. I was picking up trash when I found this cool piece and a lot of other pieces. So what do you hope listeners take away from this episode about the key principles and insights behind your approach, and also about getting into fishing and kayak fishing?
I would say, my story, I hope it inspires people because fishing, I didn't go into this to, like I said, to be the best fisherman or to, I just did it because it felt good and it made me feel happy and it brought me back to this, it got me out of depression. And then it evolved into this amazing part of my life that I wouldn't trade for anything. And I want more people to experience that. And what it takes is putting yourself out there, stepping out of your comfort zone. I definitely know that I step out of my comfort zone a lot. We could get into peeing on a kayak as a female and how it started and where it's at now. But that's not easy for a lot of girls. So there's so many things that you got to put yourself out there. You got to step out of your comfort zone and amazing things happen, staying into your comfort zone. There's not going to be a whole lot of change in your life. And so I think kind of doing things that you maybe always dreamed of and taking that risk and going for something, I think it has a lot of value. And I'm just grateful, for my journey, but I never would have told, 15 years ago, if you asked me where I'd be in 15 years, I'd never say, I think I'm going to be on Team USA saltwater kayak fishing. I had no idea this was going to be the way my life turned out. And I just think that there's a lot of opportunity, especially for women in the sport. It's for anybody, everybody is welcome in fishing. I want to see more kids out there. I want to see more women out there. I just want to see more people enjoying it and doing it in a responsible way. And, we didn't get into it, but I'm a big preacher on safety and making good choices out there and not pushing, I want people to be pushed out of their comfort zone, but not push the boundaries of what's safe and what's not safe. So I agree
100%. And we can't skip that. I realized I skipped that section, because as you know, safe fishing is life, but safety comes first. So I was curious about, what are the key things that you consider being the most important safety lessons for, not just saltwater, but big water and kayak fishing in general. And what recommendations would you give for anybody from a novice to a skilled person that maybe is of the mindset of, oh, it's not going to happen to me, I'm in this kayak?
Right. Yeah, the ocean's big and a lot can go wrong out there. It's like definitely you're at, it's up to the ocean what's going to happen. And so I think being prepared is the best thing we can do. Dressing for immersion is really important. So that means wearing a dry suit or a wetsuit. If you're wearing a dry suit, obviously having the proper layers for where we're at. And then having a VHF radio so you can call for help. And then sometimes having a backup VHF radio is important. I try to take 2 with me and leave one, off in my dry bag. And I always keep one on me. And that way, if I'm to fall in the water and get separated from my kayak, I have my VHF radio on my body and can call the Coast Guard for help or call other anglers in the area. Wearing a PFD is super important. I am on the Mustang survival team, and I'm very grateful for their quality of life jackets and dry suits and different apparel. I feel very safe with our gear, but making sure that your gear is all maintained and if you have an inflatable, they do expire and you will want to replace it. So just being mindful and then having first aid kits on board. Yak Attack was very generous in donating first aid kits. So luckily nothing happened, but a lot of the fish we were fishing for in La Paz all have very sharp teeth, from the mackerel to the needlefish and the snapper. Like everything can cut you pretty bad. So one bad gash out there that can end your day. But if you're prepared and have something to wrap it up with while you're on the water, you can at least keep fishing and deal with it later. But if you don't have a first aid kit or something, you're done, you're going in and that's it. And then a bilge pump is really important to have on your kayak. I mean, even the best kayaks take on water sometimes in ways you wouldn't expect, or so being prepared in so many aspects is so important. And I think just having like the gear is huge, having sunscreen, having water. Something we dealt with in Costa Rica was we had no food or water for our team on day 2. And at that time, it is a new upcoming thing, like you said. And so it was something that the organizers didn't really think of. We all launched at 6 a.m. and next thing you know, like it's 12 o'clock and everybody's starving and hasn't, a few of us had no water. One guy had no sunscreen. And Costa Rica, I ended up not fishing the second day. And I ended up giving a female on Team Mexico my kayak because her kayak was taking on water and she didn't get to fish the day prior. So I ended up kind of disqualifying myself in a way. And then I went on a panga and I delivered sunscreen and waters to our team. So they weren't suffering. But so, yeah.
That's pretty awesome, and that right there is what it's about. Representing the USA and fishing for Team USA is, it's not just about going out there and winning medals. It's also stepping up and taking care of the other people on the field, regardless of what team they are, right? When I was in Portugal, Miguel Espinosa, sorry, Miguel, I'm sure I got that wrong. When he was doing the opening ceremony, first thing he said is, we're competitors on the water only. Off the water, we're family, and that's something that's always stuck with me. And when he said that, it just made me smile because that's a perfect example.
It's so true.
It's an incredible opportunity for anybody, and it would be very tough for me to just sit by and enjoy that opportunity while watching somebody else that has the same opportunity not be able to enjoy it, sorry, I got sidetracked. And the other thing that I was going to mention about your safety gear, one thing that you said, when I went down to Georgia to do my ACA instructor certification, my instructor trainer, one of the things that he said was 2 is 1 and 1 is none, and you had repeated it. And, at the end of the day, that's what I try to do with my safety stuff is like, if you don't have a backup, then, there's a chance that you probably won't have that piece of equipment. But really, it's just thinking about what is the absolute worst case scenario. Like aliens come down from the clouds. What are you going to do? I actually haven't thought about that scenario, even though a lot of people think that aliens visit Lake Erie at night. But anything except for the aliens, definitely prepare for, dressing for the swim. Dry suits are huge. Mustang's a great company. I have a Coquetet, and then we just ordered a new level 6 dry suit for producer Philly D. So we got him already. But any dry suit that's from a reputable manufacturer is going to be a good dry suit. There's a great video, and we even had Stig from Level 6, the guy that put the video on. I can post a link afterwards in the description, but it breaks down the difference between a quality dry suit from a reputable manufacturer that, their name's on it. If something happens to you, their name's on it, versus like something off of Alibaba. And when it comes to Mustang, they provide a lot of our first responders their safety equipment, so it has to work for them because they're the ones out there saving our lives. And back when I used to sell fishing boats in 2020, we had brought on Old Town as well because, that's part of the reason I had joined was to bring kayaks into it. And we're talking about, the inflatables and stuff. And Old Town is Johnson Outdoors, which is Mustang Survival. And one of the things that really stuck out with the Mustang is they're one of the few manufacturers, at least back then, this was 5 years ago, that installed the cartridge for their inflatable vests before it left the factory. And my thought, just coming from a mechanical background, my first thought is, oh, so the other people don't trust the system, because when you send it out like that, now the customer has to finalize the assembly. How are you going to prove that you installed that cartridge correctly? So in the eye of the law, you got to watch out for companies that are looking to exploit loopholes versus companies that truly, depend on their safety gear because that's who they are. So choose wisely.
Totally. And then one last thing, just, pedal drives aren't bulletproof, and both Pan Ams that I was at, we had pedal drives fail, and that took, like on Costa Rica, it took one of our top competitors towing one of our teammates in so he could get a different kayak and get back out there. But it took 2 people off the water basically because I don't know. But so you got to know your limits, and you got to know, like, if I can pedal this far, am I going to be able to paddle back? And if there's current and there's wind and conditions change, that's a whole nother safety thing, like being prepared and what to expect for the conditions, but also being prepared that weather forecasts aren't always correct, and anything can happen out there. So, pedal drives breaking, luckily we were a little bit more prepared this year. So we had somebody with tools out on the water, and we were using Lightning kayaks and same system as the Hobie pedal drives. That's another thing. I'm on Old Town. It was my very first time ever using a pedal fin system. So that was kind of a learning curve on top of all the other learning curves that come with a tournament. But it's always interesting to kind of put yourself out there and get out of your comfort zone. Like, I've always used Old Town pedal systems. And before that, I was very stubbornly like, I'm going to be a paddler for life. I thought I would never get into the pedal system scene. And then once I realized how much more fishing time I got out of it because I was pedaling, I was like, okay, I can see this now.
Right. And aside from switching the drives, anytime that, especially if you're an avid kayak angler, anytime you have to jump into a different kayak that you're not used to or is set up differently, it's a little bit of chaos. It's like running a new machine that you never touched before. So it takes away from that fishing focus, and maybe you fumble a little bit more and snag a little bit more and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
That's what lets us grow, right? You know, it's one of those things. Like you said before, you got to get outside of your comfort zone. And the way to do that is to not be afraid to fail, you know, because you want to think like the word fail is seen as a bad thing, but it's actually the best thing that's ever happened to pretty much anybody that's alive, because that's where the lessons come and the growth comes, you know, and the wisdom. So we can't get to where we are and where we're going without a little bit of failure.
Well said, Chuck. That's nailed it.
Thank you. All right, Annie. Before we let you off the hook, we're going to reel you back in for one last piece of angler's wisdom. But don't worry, it's a catch and release type question. If you had to choose one or two key pieces of angler's wisdom, whether something you've learned through experience or a valuable lesson passed down to you, what would it be, and why do you think they're so important for other anglers to hear?
Oh, man. I like always just go back to the comfort zone thing, like getting out there and pushing yourself to the limit. I feel like I'll have a really good answer for this in like 3 minutes when we hang up.
Well, you know, the comfort zone thing is a good thing, because I think a lot of times we're just so hard on ourselves when it comes to a lot of this stuff, especially life, you know. And getting outside of your comfort zone, you start accepting your failures a little bit more, you know, along the way. Like when you do fail, it's not the end of the world. It's okay, you know. And like me, I've failed so many times, I instantly look for the silver lining, right? You know. So maybe, I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Like I've definitely been hard on myself if I don't perform well in a tournament, but I had a epic pre-fishing, or you know, a lot of the time we would stay longer for our home tournaments and then fish afterwards. And on either side of the tournament, I did excellent. And then on tournament day, I just totally, you know, was like, who am I? I don't even recognize myself. But it is where you grow the most. And it is kind of like, you can't be too hard on yourself because we're only human. And fishing is it's not something you can just predict. Even the best anglers fail. I mean, there's so much room for mistakes, and there's so much room. I mean, the fish might not bite one day, and I don't know. So it's like, there's just so much that goes into fishing, that, you know, skill and luck and all these things, you know, it takes like that perfect recipe to have those banner days, but a lot of it's just like kind of the stars aligning. So, yeah.
I agree, you know, and one thing I always remind myself, how boring would it be, you know, if fishing just was awesome every single day. Every day we went out there and we caught tons of fish and the biggest fish. I mean, how long would we fish? We'd probably stop after 3 months, you know, just bored looking for something else. So it's, you know, going back to getting out of your comfort zone and being afraid to fail. I mean, that's what keeps us coming back, is that challenge, the constant challenge to learn something new and test ourselves and our abilities, you know, especially on big water. And on the safety side of things, Michael Brand added to the chat, high-vis lights, obviously navigation lights, especially if you're motorized, and high-vis safety flag. I have one around here somewhere, but just something that keeps you visible, especially on big water.
Yes, excellent points.
Awesome. Well, what are we, about an hour and a half in? I think we will wrap it up here, and maybe we'll do another show. I don't know, before you guys go to Spain, or even after. We could even put like a team show together or something.
Yeah, I would love to do a team show. The youth one last week was awesome, and yeah, I'd love to get the saltwater guys and gals on here with you, because I think a lot of them have so much angler's wisdom. I mean, I love learning from our team, these guys and Elsa Flores. I think I saw Kayak Fishing Magazine asked who the other female angler on our team has been, and it's Elsa Flores from Southern California. And everybody brings so much knowledge to the team, and it's so fun to learn the different skills and techniques that these people have from across the nation. So I just love learning from our team. So I would love to have them on with you.
Yeah, we definitely need to make that one happen. And, the last week's episode was so incredible. I don't think we could have better young anglers. It's just I'm so proud of those youngsters. So awesome.
I love it.
That's not the picture of the youngsters, but that is a picture of the USA saltwater kayak fishing team. Well, Annie, thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining us. I messed that script up. Sorry, guys. Thanks for showing us what it means to fish with purpose, lead with grit, and represent Team USA with heart. The conversation isn't just about gold, although that is important, but it's about legacy and making a difference in the world. If this episode fired you up, hit that like button, subscribe, and share it with somebody who needs a little extra encourage to chase their next big catch and chase their dreams. You know the line, fishing is life, but safety comes first. We'll see you next Thursday on the Angler's Wisdom Podcast.
Thank you for joining us today on the Angler's Wisdom Podcast. We hope you got some good insight out of the show and learned something new. Don't forget to go over to ampedoutdoors.com and support the title sponsor of the show. Follow them on social media and just show them some love. And lastly, head over to LakeErieKayakFishing.com and check out all the many resources as well as opportunities to book an unforgettable Lake Erie kayak fishing adventure with yours truly. You can also get yourself a Lake Erie kayak fishing gift card, the obsessed angler in your life. And remember, fishing is life, but safety comes first. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you next Thursday live on the Angler's Wisdom Podcast.
Oh, yeah! Yeah! Oh! Oh, it's a nice one. Yeah!